Sultan.
Yasmin?
You've had this smirk on your face since you walked in.
Well, you would too if someone you've never talked to before came up out of nowhere and complimented your hosting skills.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's right. A girl in my English class heard the pod, looked us up, recognized me, and then came up and congratulated yours truly.
Did you get her Snapchat?
No, but I did get an ego boost, which was very much needed after college rejections.
Sounds like those college admissions officers need to listen to the podcast.
Man, I wish. What about you? Have you heard from any listeners?
Well, one of the teachers at my school recently told me about a former student from like 10 years ago, reaching out to her about miseducation.
Wait, so one of her former students heard about you?
Well, no. She just heard that a co-host goes to my school. So, not as impressive as your example, but it was still nice to be recognized.
So what you're telling me is, I'm still winning.
Okay, moving along.
Alright. But the point is, it's crazy how listening to this podcast can connect you with people from your past.
And speaking of reconnection, we've got a very special episode for you today, told by our producer, Taylor.
It's a story that only he can tell, and you'll understand why. But before we get to that story,
We'd just like to say, on behalf of the entire Miseducation team, thank you. We're 3 episodes into our season about the students who attend New York City's transfer high schools. And we really appreciate you guys for listening, sharing, and responding.
this podcast would not at all be possible without your support.
Alright, now, for episode 4, we're passing it to the man himself,
The guy who signs our checks.
our fearless leader, the mastermind, the architect, the man who...
Alright, enough.
My bad. The man who started it all, Taylor McGraw. Take it away, Taylor.
What's up? My name is Aiyanna. I'm alone today. So, how's your day, Mr. McGraw?
I had a good day.
This is a conversation between me and my student, Aiyanna. In the spring of 2017, our school was called Achievement First University Prep in Bushwick, Brooklyn. This was back in the early days of the Bell when this podcast was still just an idea, and I was a part-time 10th grade writing teacher. Every Friday, Aiyanna and a couple other students from my 4th period class would stay after school for a recorded conversation. We'd debrief the week and talk about whatever came up. Food was always a popular topic.
You know, macaroni and cheese, you can't only make it one way. You can make it several other ways. You could put bacon in it. You could put beef. I like to style mine up, put a little different seasoning, make my own seasoning,
I know teachers aren't supposed to say this, but Aiyanna was one of my favorite students. We had our own secret language, an alphabet of facial expressions that could be exchanged across the room. Usually, my face would be saying, "Get to work."
Okay, yeah, we should discuss about seminar.
All right, let's
I feel like
discuss.
there was a big misunderstanding. I come into the class 10 minutes and somehow I'm already about to get sent back. I don't understand how. You only caught me once.
Only caught you once.
Toward the end of the year, it was becoming clear that Aiyanna might not pass the 10th grade.
Yeah, it's almost May. After May, I think it's June.
That's correct.
Yes. So, do you know what happens in June? Like around June 18th?
Yeah, I've been counting down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Summer vacation,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I just give up. I'm going to come to school
Uh-huh.
and do what I always do. Sit in the back and try to do my work. And try is what I've been doing lately, and it's getting me nowhere. So,
Why would you have that mindset
because
when there's so much on the line? You know what I'm saying?
it's so much on the line, but I'm not gonna make it. I'm really not. I'm going to get out back. I'm going to be retained.
Why would you say that? It's not true.
I mean, it's gonna happen. I can't. My grades is not. I can't.
I was wrong. She was right. Aiyanna had to repeat 10th grade. But I wasn't around for it. At the end of that 2017 school year, I left the classroom to focus on the Bell, and I lost touch with Aiyanna and my other former students. So, you can imagine my surprise and Aiyanna's when I ran into her last year in the hallway of the James Baldwin School. We just stared at each other and we're both like, what are you doing here?
I was like, oh my God, I miss Mr. McGraw. Like, you were so cool as a teacher, even though I feel like I was so bad at it as a student.
Now we're sitting in a spare classroom at Baldwin, catching up.
I was like, oh my God, I miss him. And I was like actually wondering why you were here at the same time. I was like, okay, I know that he doesn't know that I'm, here.
Here's what I learned. That next year, when she repeated the 10th grade, Aiyanna said it was clear that Achievement First was not working for her, and she started looking for other options. I should stop here and explain something. Achievement First is a network of 37 charter schools in Brooklyn, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. Charter schools are public schools, and anyone can attend them. But they have more freedom than traditional public schools to design their own systems. Everything from discipline to math class can be handled differently. Sometimes this allows for exciting innovations that help kids. Other times, it can result in a school that just doesn't work that well. In New York City, 1 in 10 public school students attends a charter school. The proportion is higher in Black and Hispanic neighborhoods, which is where charter schools are concentrated here. Half of kindergartners in Harlem attend charter schools. By traditional measures, attendance, graduation rate, college acceptance rate, Achievement First University Prep is a high-performing school. But for Aiyanna, it wasn't a great fit. She'd been in Achievement First schools since kindergarten, and she got in trouble a lot.
I had detention since the second semester of 5th grade, every day. That's bad. But it's the truth.
Every day.
Every day. Like, you could catch me on a good day, but if I'm not in detention that day, it's because I either wasn't in school or I probably just got out of detention by telling one of my teachers, just slide me by.
She's exaggerating, but not by much.
It was to the point in middle school, I had my own seat. They was like, Aiyanna, you know what to say. I was like, yeah, I do. I know what to say.
The behavior management system at Achievement First worked as follows. Picture a giant menu of student misbehaviors, sorted into categories based on the severity of the offense. Level 1 or L1 infractions are minor.
So not having a pencil, that's a L1. Talking when you're not supposed to be, that's a L1. Not following directions is a L1. There's so many things you could get an L1 for. It's small things. Posture, L1. Unprepared.
Then you have your level 2 infractions.
Things you could get L2s for is disrespect, low level disrespect, coming to class late, missing homework, incomplete homework, uniform. If you don't got school shoes, that's L2. If you don't got your tie, boys, that's L2. If in the beginning of the year, they were so strict on the uniform to where I got an L2 for wearing hoops. The things I get in trouble for, man. If your earrings is not the size or smaller than a quarter, they would say, that's an L2.
You get the point. As a teacher, I was trained to constantly be on the lookout for L1s and L2s. During class, I held a clipboard with every student's name and would jot down the infractions in real time, then log them into a software system after class. On some days, I might give only a handful of L1s per period. On other days, 2 dozen. How many L1s do you think I gave you?
You tried to not give me much, but I would say in a week, I probably would get like 10 L1s from you. But that's just in one class. We still got other classes, like other 7 classes to worry about there that I could possibly get L1s. So this is why I'm in detention.
This rigid behavior management system led to an orderly school. Unlike at Baldwin, there was no lingering in the hallway, no cell phones in the classroom, no resting your head on the desk, and absolutely no cursing. That was an L2 automatic detention. When the teacher spoke, students were silent, sitting up straight, facing forward. When it was time to work, students worked, or at least went through the motions. To give you a sense of the school from my vantage point as a teacher, let me zoom in on Aiyanna's 4th period writing class. The Achievement First writing curriculum left almost no room for creative writing. Instead, research papers. Literally the whole year, one after the other. An average day went like this. My co-teacher and I would stand at the whiteboard and lead a mini lesson on some aspect of writing a research paper, crafting topic sentences or formatting bibliography entries. When one of us was talking, the other was scanning the room, making sure students were listening. After the mini lesson, students had about half an hour to work independently using Chromebooks. But for many students, including Aiyanna, progress was really slow. At some point in the year, I don't recall exactly when, I learned that about half of the students in that fourth period writing class, including Aiyanna, had individualized education plans, or IEPs. An IEP is an official document that lists the services and accommodations schools are required to provide students who have special learning needs. I didn't have a certification to teach special education, and neither did my co-teacher. We were both smart people who worked hard, but I always felt guilty knowing that we didn't have the expertise, or really the time, to design interventions that would meet each student's individual needs. So, 2 years later, sitting next to Aiyanna in the spare classroom at James Baldwin, listening to her describe what drove her to leave the school, none of it surprises me.
I was like, I'm leaving AF for two purposes. I'm not receiving the help that I need that is clearly on my IEP, because now I know my IEP by heart. Like, I know what I need, and I know what's my disability. And then two, I'm not getting the support that I needed from the teachers.
Aiyanna dealt with a lot of difficult situations outside of school, including deaths in her family.
My father passing, my cousin passing, and then I have so much outside things to worry about than like what's going on in school. But even though I did try to balance it, like I would still do my homework, but it was the fact that it wouldn't be up to par. Like, it wouldn't be like my best because I'm tired, like this, that, and third, and I'm going through things.
Before we continue, I should say that Aiyanna's experience not receiving all of the mandated services on her IEP is not unique. The failure to adequately serve students with special needs is a common critique of charter schools. And in my opinion, as someone who taught in charter schools for 5 years and who has a lot of friends who taught in charter schools, the critique is well-deserved. But traditional public schools are also failing to meet the needs of students with disabilities. While the citywide graduation rate inches toward 80%, the rate for students with disabilities hovers around 50%. About 1/5 of New York City public school students, 200,000+, have an IEP. And according to NYC DOE data, around 50,000 of those students do not receive all of their mandated services. Last year, a state education department investigation found a sharp spike in special education complaints from parents and determined that the system designed to hear and resolve those complaints is short-staffed and overwhelmed. I reached out to the Achievement First University Prep administration for comment on Aiyanna's claims that she did not receive the services on her IEP. Claire Shin, Aiyanna's former principal, my former boss, sent me an email that said, quote, "Our school is committed to providing an excellent educational experience. It includes a rigorous curriculum and individualized support for students. Due to student privacy rights, we cannot discuss information pertaining to specific students." Aiyanna said that by the spring of 2018, 10th grade, round 2, her mind was made up. She wanted to transfer out. While researching her options, she learned about James Baldwin, told the school she was interested, went in for a one-on-one interview, and then got invited to a group interview.
They put us in a group, and then we'll talk about a topic, and then we'll do like a team builder. And then after that, we each go into separate rooms to write an essay about their core values. And as I'm writing that essay, I'm like, oh my God, I'm a good writer. Like, I wrote like a 2-page essay within like 45 minutes. I was like feeling myself after that. I was like, oh snap. So
I've never written that, but
not that fast.
Yeah.
I felt like I could just write a lot because it's like I'm putting my opinions, my thoughts down on the page. So I'm like, oh my God, I kind of did good.
Seeing Aiyanna smile while talking about her writing assignment, this is a first. How do you describe the difference between James Baldwin and AF?
This school the way how they have it set up, they give you that freedom. It's like, you're gonna do whatever you're gonna do. We're not gonna force you to do anything. But then they also have like this conversation with us, like, you need to be on top of your shit. Like they like literally tell us that, like, you gotta be on top of your shit to, this is your life after it. So they on top of us, but they're not too on top of us, like forcing us to do stuff. That's what I like about it. And AF is like, we gonna tell you do this, we gonna give you the fork. Actually no, I'm gonna pick up the fork and I'm gonna feed you the food. You're gonna eat this food. This is the food you're gonna eat. Like, they just had to force everything on us. The fact that the school is called Achievement First University Prep, it's supposed to prep you for college, and I feel like it doesn't prep you for college. I don't think it preps you for the real world. I feel like it's their perception of how the real world would be. It has to be this, that, and the third. You have to dress a certain way. That's not how you dress in college. They don't wear uniforms. And it was like, oh, well, we're teaching you professionalism. I'm like, okay, I get that. But by the second year, who doesn't know how to dress professional?
This always bugged me too. As someone who now wears sweatshirts and sneakers to work, I have always found the emphasis on, quote, professional dress really problematic, particularly when it's a mostly white staff telling black and brown teenagers you must wear a tie at all times to be professional. And I'll say, as a teacher at Achievement First, the most unsettling part of my job was the constant behavior monitoring. During school-wide assemblies in the auditorium, the administration gave students instructions on everything from how to sit, back against the chair, book bag on the floor, to how to celebrate, meaning like how to clap and for how long. If the celebration wasn't crisp, they made the students practice. If there was too much whispering, the administration would, using a microphone, ask the teachers to stand in the aisles of the auditorium, watch their students, and give anyone not meeting expectations a consequence. In an email, I asked the Achievement First administration about these critiques, both Aiyanna's and mine, the inflexible writing curriculum, uniform policy, the strict discipline system, but they said federal student privacy laws prevented them from answering our questions. Okay, fall 2018, time for Aiyanna to trade in her buttoned-up charter school for a school where students call teachers by their first names, leave for lunch, curse without consequence, wear what they want, and use their cell phones in class. How did it go? She'll tell you after this short break.
Hi, my name is Maria de los Santos. I'm a senior at Comprehensive Model School Project 327 in the South Bronx. If you didn't know already, you're listening to the Miseducation podcast. If you like what you're hearing, make sure you're subscribed to Miseducation on your favorite podcast app. And while you're at it, drop us a rating and tell a few friends about the show. We really appreciate your support. You can find us on Instagram, and show us some love. We're at Miseducation Pod. Okay, bye. Back to the show.
First coming here, I was nervous. That first day of school, I made sure I had a cute outfit, made sure everything was right. The minute you come here, hi, hello, how are you? What's your name? Great. They already know your name.
This welcoming culture, Aiyanna said, starts with Baldwin's principal, Brady Smith.
It's kind of cool because, like, I have a bond with my principal, and I never really knew that I can have that with a good bond with a principal. Because Brady, he's awesome. Like, he's cool with everybody. He's just funny, and, he's not strict. Well, he's strict on us, but he's not super strict. He understands, what we go through and stuff. So that's what I like.
You'll hear more about Brady in the next episode.
It's mostly like, you have messed up in the past, but there's a brighter future ahead of you. We can make the poorest decisions ever, but Baldwin will still have, that opportunity for you to change and for you to build. And it's relieving because it's like, they don't put you down about it. They're just going to support you.
One of the aspects of the school that stood out to Aiyanna right away, a process called fairness. Other students we met talked about it too. If a student has an issue with a teacher or thinks they were treated unfairly, they can take a teacher to fairness, a mediated conversation between student and teacher. It's one of Baldwin's many restorative practices, which you heard about in episode 3.
they'll take the feedback from us for them, and we can like have a conversation, and there'll be another person just, regulating the conversation, how they could build in that situation that they've been through.
At Achievement First, student-teacher conflict was handled very differently. If students received 3 L1s during a class period, they were sent to a reflection room where they were told to silently complete a handout. I happen to have a copy of the reflection sheet used during the 2016-17 school year. Here's an excerpt of the instructions. First sentence. Your reflection will be read, check for details, spelling, and grammar. My fellow grammar nerds understand the irony here. The sentence itself is grammatically incorrect, a violation of parallel structure. But moving on. If your reflection is insufficient, you will be asked to add to it. Your reflection should be thoughtful, meaningful, and explain in great details the issue or concern, how your reaction or action was not aligned with the AFUP Scholar Behavior Expectations Manual. List your action steps and how you will demonstrate professionalism, in parentheses, college readiness/career readiness, through your actions, while accepting feedback as an opportunity to implement meaningful changes to impact your successes moving forward. So, a very adult-directed approach. How did Aiyanna describe it? Them holding the fork? At Baldwin, different story. Aiyanna found herself in the driver's seat, making the decisions about her education.
When coming here, I found out a lot of things about myself that I didn't really know. Now knowing that I have, an IEP and I know what's on it and I've actually looked at it, is like really quite helpful for me, because it's like, all right, I know that I have counseling on my IEP. Like, that's something I was supposed to be getting. I know that I have co-teaching in each classroom that I have. I know that small groups is something that I need. So it's great to know that. And another thing that I didn't know until I got into this high school was my credits. AF wasn't a credit-based high school. I never knew how many credits I needed. But, with here, they actually break it down for you so you get to graduate as soon as possible.
She said they gave her the choice. Bust your tail, graduate in a year. Or take it slower, spend an additional semester or two, up to her. Aiyanna wound up taking the slower route, partially because she still struggled with some of the same assignments she had trouble with at Achievement First. Like this big paper she had to complete as part of her history PBAT, which stands for Performance-Based Assessment Task, a graduation credential used at Baldwin and a few dozen other high schools across the city in place of the timed multiple-choice Regents exams. Almost all Baldwin students we spoke to said they prefer PBATs to Regents exams, even though they say PBATs are still hard. And according to our unscientific study, students also prefer to say PBAT. Adriana, who you met last episode, even turned it into a verb, PBATing.
All these students that's P-batting.
I dropped by Baldwin back in December to check in with Aiyanna, see how things were going.
I'm just pray to God that I graduate, and that's it. I'm waiting to graduate. I feel like, if I handle my next steps right on what I want to do in the future, I feel like, I could possibly be, a millionaire, make my own business. I just want to be successful. That's it. Very successful.
When I talked to her, Aiyanna was hoping to graduate in January, but now she's on track for June and is considering her next steps.
College is expensive, even though with financial aid, and right now, income wise is, I'm just struggling. But I think with taking a semester off, I get to work on my resume, just work on me, just not have to worry about much right now before I go and start college.
If she were still at Achievement First, this plan to just take some time off after graduation wouldn't go over well.
The option of not going to college right after you graduate, that's not an option. You have to be in college. What if that person wants to take a year off? What if they want to do a training program? There's other opportunities to become successful, but I feel like the way how they see it is you have to go to college. You have to get that 4-year degree.
But at Baldwin, there's a futures office that helps students find the path that's right for them.
You're still able to come here after you graduate. You can come here, talk to the social worker that's here still. The college counselors, they still would be in touch with you. They'll still help you with resumes if you need help with it. They would still help you with trying to find a job, help you with the application. They'll still do that even after you done graduated.
Some of you listening to this may be thinking, all of this sounds great, but a lot of students who say they're going to take a little time off never actually go back to school, get a degree. Achievement first sounds really rigid, but is it such a bad thing to ensure that all students enroll in a four-year college? These are complicated debates, and it's true that a lot of Baldwin alums struggle after graduation. In fact, we'll hear from one of them in our next episode. But when it comes to Aiyanna, I'm just really proud. School has not been easy for her, but she's pushed through, found her path. And there's a level of confidence in her voice now that I didn't always hear when I was her teacher. I went back and forth about whether to do this episode given my personal involvement in the story and fears about how my former colleagues, who I all really like and respect, might react. But then I was listening to some of those old recordings with Aiyanna, taken after class, and I came across one where she got to talking about the uniform policy and other aspects of the school that weren't working for her. She said, I feel like this should be my research question. I was all for it. But then she was like, I couldn't connect this to the text that we read in class. The author of that text, can you guess?
I feel like this should be my research question.
You should have made it your research question.
You can't connect this to Baldwin.
You could have connected it to, you could absolutely connect it to Baldwin.
Man, what a small world, huh?
Yeah, that's crazy. I still remember Taylor freaking out when he first saw Aiyanna was at James Baldwin.
Right? He had 2 brows up.
Which, if you know Taylor, is the equivalent of someone winning the lottery.
Twice.
In the same hour.
That's a good one. So Aiyanna is one of the many students we've heard from this season.
We've also talked to Steph, Javier, Adriana.
And all this talk about the past makes you wonder if we'll remember each other when all is said and done.
I don't think we're there just yet. We've still got one more episode to go, a few more characters to meet, and one more important place to visit. Because we haven't yet ventured into the principal's office. But that's where we're headed next.
A lot of schools, sort of operate from a risk-averse perspective and try and create policies that limit the opportunity for students to make mistakes. And I think what you also limit when you do that is you limit their ability to trust adults and to have agency. And so there's a tension there, and I've always tried to err on the side of trust.
So that's coming. In the meantime, if you have any story ideas or suggestions for where you'd like to see us go next, drop us a line.
Make sure you're subscribed to Miseducation on your podcast app so you never miss an episode.
And for behind-the-scenes content, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at MiseducationPod.
This episode was written, reported, and produced by me, Taylor McGraw, with editing from Lillian Hughes. Original music comes from the students at Building Beats, which you can learn about more in the show notes.
Big thanks to the Pinkerton Foundation, the Summerfield Foundation, and FJC.
We'll be back soon with the final episode. And until then, stay educated.
Hey.